What's happening, everybody? I'm Tyrone Bowman. This is Tyrone Bowman Tonight. This is part 3 of the continuing story of the Huston Astros general manager, Dusty Baker, is the first African American to lead a major team to a World MLB championship. And this is part 3, as I said a couple seconds ago, so let's get right down to it. In the closing years of his life, Dusty became a free agent after the season and signed with the San Francisco Giants for the 1984 season. He played 100 games that year and batted .292 with 71 hits and 3 home runs. He was traded to the Oakland Athletics on March 24, 1985 for 2 minor league players. While he would play the outfield during his time there, he also played first base at times, playing 61 games of his tenure at the position, while also serving as a designated hitter. For 28 total games, he played 111 games in 1985 and batted .268 with 14 home runs and 52 RBIs. He played sparingly for his final season in 1986 with 83 games and a .240 batting average. He appeared in his final game on October 4, 1986 against the Kansas City Royals. He went on 0 for 1 with 2 walks before being taken out for a pitch runner in the 7th inning. While the Athletics offered to send him down to the AAA for the 1987 season, Baker elected for free agency instead and subsequently retired. In a career that spanned 19 years, Baker played in 2,039 games while collecting 1,981 hits, 242 home runs, and 1,013 runs batted in while never going on the disabled list. Baker is noted for his love of toothpicks, saying toothpicks are an excellent source of protein while chewing at least one every game. He also uses the toothpick as a way to deter use of chewing tobacco, which he used as a player. In his final season of 1986, he began wearing a wristband featuring his face, which he has continued to do as manager. He has stated, "It is to wipe perspiration off his forehead." So, Dusty became manager for the San Francisco Giants. Baker was working as a stockbroker in 1987, when he received a call from Hank Aaron, Joe Morgan, and Frank Robinson to go to Dallas, Texas to try to get jobs for minority baseball players after they finished their playing careers, which came in the wake of controversial remarks by Dodgers general manager Al Capanis on April 6, 1987. While in Dallas, trying to find jobs for players, Bob Kennedy, senior baseball operations executive for the San Francisco Giants, told Baker that Al Rosen, general manager of the Giants, asked to see Baker about a possible job. On the advice of his father, Baker, alongside his brother and daughter, set out to Lake Arrowhead to pray and seek guidance to decide whether he should see Rosen and possibly return to baseball. However, while checking into the hotel, Baker encountered Bob Lowry, owner of the Giants, which seemed a sign for Baker to take an opportunity if offered. When Baker eventually met with Rosen, Rosen stated interest in having him serve as a first base coach, which differed from Baker stating interest in possibly being an assistant general manager because Rosen thought he would be better suited to manage on the field. Baker set out a goal to try and manage within 5 years or he would step down. Baker's coaching career started as a first base coach for the Giants in 1988, and then he spent the following 4 years, 1989 to 1982, as the hitting coach. In 1992, he managed the Scottsdale Scorpions in the Arizona Fall League. In 1992, Giants general manager Roger Craig was fired while Bob Quinn was named general manager the week prior. Rosen resigned by the new ownership that was led by Peter McGowan. On December 16, 1982, Baker was hired to manage the club, becoming the 7th black manager hired to manage a Major League Baseball team. He beat out 4 other candidates in John Watson, Davy Lopez, Tom Trebelhorn, and Ron Gardehire. In his first year as Giants manager, the team had acquired Barry Bonds. The same month Baker was promoted, Baker would win the NL Manager of the Year award until 2021, when he was the only Giant to win the award, leading the team to a 103 or 103.59 record. However, it was not enough for a playoff berth. They had led the National League West by 9.5 games on August 7th, but they ended up losing the National League West to the Atlanta Braves. The Giants lost 12-1 on the final day of the season, when a win could have forced a tie-breaking game with Atlanta for the division championship. The following year, a wild card was instituted in both leagues. It was the second best record in baseball that year, behind the 104-58 Atlanta Braves and 31 games better than their 72-90 finish the previous season. He was the first manager since Sparky Anderson in 1970 to win 100 games as a rookie manager, and the fourth to do so. Since the Giants missed the playoffs, as only the division winners qualified before 1995, he also became the eighth and so far the last manager to lead a team to 100 wins without making it to the postseason. His Giants went on to win division titles in 1997 and again in 2000. Baker won Manager of the Year honors in both those years as well. He was the second person to win, the award 3 times after Tony La Russa, and the first to do so with the same team all 3 times. His easygoing style of managing led to a description of him as a player's manager, to where he learned Spanish to try to help relate to his players. It was also during his San Francisco tenure that the term destiny was coined by former Giants pitcher Rod Beck. However, the postseason would elude Baker and the Giants as they fell in the NLDS in 1997 and 2000 while losing a tie-breaking game for the wild card spot in 1998. In 2002, his Giants won 95 games and clinched the wild card by 3.5 games. In the 2002 National League Division Series, they faced the Atlanta Braves. The two teams split the first 4 games before a pivotal Game 5 in Atlanta, which the Giants won 3-1 to deliver their first postseason series victory since 1989. The Giants faced the St. Louis Cardinals, who had beaten the Arizona Diamondbacks, the defending champions, in the 2002 National League Championship Series. The Giants won the series in 5 games for the first pennant in 11 years, winning on a walk-off single by Kenny Lofton. They advanced to the World Series against the Anaheim Angels, who are managed by his former Dodger teammate Mike Siscoria. The teams split the first 2 games in Anaheim before going to San Francisco. In Game 3, they were routed 10-4, but the Giants responded with a narrow 4-3 victory in Game 4 before a big win in Game 5 by a score of 16-4. The Giants were 1 victory away from the championship and had 2 games in Anaheim to do so. The Giants struck first in Game 6, scoring 3 runs in the 5th inning before adding runs in the 6th and 7th inning to make it 5-0. However, the 7th would start the unraveling of the game. In the inning, starting pitcher Russ Ortiz, who had 98 pitches, allowed consecutive singles after getting 1 out before Baker will pull him out for Felix Rodriguez. Scott Pezzidio came up to the plate and soon hit a shot to the right field to narrow the score to 5-3. In the next inning, Darwin Erstad hit a leadoff line drive shot for a home run before Tim Salmon and Garrett Anderson hit singles. Wow. That made Baker put in Rob Ned, battling the shoulder injury for most of the year, to try and close out the inning without allowing more runs. However, a double by Troy Glias scored the runners to give the Angels a lead they would not relinquish. The 5-run deficit was the longest comeback in an elimination game in the World Series. While the Giants scored first in Game 7, the Angels scored 3 runs in the 3rd inning to build a cushion on their way to victory. Despite success in San Francisco, he had an increasingly strained relationship with owner Peter Magwan, one that even the Giants' first pennant in 13 years could not mend. The Giants did not renew his contract after the season, letting him leave to manage the Chicago Cubs and hiring Felipe Alou to replace him. Baker finished his tenure with a record of 840 wins and 715 losses in the regular season, and 11 wins and 13 losses in the postseason. To date, Baker is one of only 4 African Americans to manage a World Series team. Huston was the first managing the Toronto Blue Jays to championships in 1992 and 1993. Baker was the second, and Ron Washington and Dave Roberts have since joined Gaston and Baker by managing the Texas Rangers and Los Angeles Dodgers, respectively, to the World Series, with Roberts winning the championship in 2020. Baker left as the all-time winningest manager in the San Francisco era of Giants history. Bruce Bochy would later eclipse his long-time managing the Giants to World Series titles in 2010, 2012, and 2014. And at this juncture, I must apologize because I said earlier that Dusty Baker was the first African American GM to win a national championship. I was wrong on that statistic, and when I'm wrong, I'm going to say I'm wrong. I'm not going to keep on going on and on and on, thinking that I'm right. So I'm going to leave it right here. On December 15, 2002, he was hired by the Chicago Cubs to a 4-year deal to manage the team, replacing Don Buehler. To be continued. I'm Tyrone Bowman. Never surrender, never quit.